Okay, so we'll do this. I'll do this presentation in a few parts, and this would be more like a case study, right? So initially, I'll touch upon how typical transaction data looks like, and how we would segment this transaction data, and then I'll introduce you to fashion brands. Of course, I won't name the fashion brands. Let's keep them anonymous, right? And then I'll tell you how, let's say, brand B has made 3 times more money than brand A. Okay, so that's how we will look at that. And then let's look at the current taxonomy usage in some of the, I mean, we've done a little bit of a study, and then we'll share with you what's the current taxonomy usage. When we get transaction data, we'll look at it and we'll see how many brands are actually using taxonomy, right? And then finally, I'll also share what is the impact and how can the usage of taxonomy help you with your marketing efforts. Okay, so let's go to the first part, which is basically about transaction data, right? Now, typically when brands come and give us or share data to us, this is the kind of typical transaction data. I have simplified the transaction data. Some of you all might have far more complicated transaction kind of descriptors, but this is a very, very simplified version so that you can understand how, going forward, what is it that we're going to do. Okay, now, if you look at this, typically, transaction data, you can split this into 3 different buckets. Okay, now you will see on the left, the first one are the demography details. Now this has a little bit of personally identifiable information. There is the PII, there's the name, the mobile phone number. Many of y'all, if you have your own website, you would also be capturing their email IDs. And this is very useful because using those 2, the mobile number as well as the email ID, you can target these people or retarget these people on Facebook or Instagram using these 2 IDs, right? Of course, in addition to that, you also have the product details, and that's where the SKU definition, and many a case, this is how we get the data of the description about the product or the SKU code or the SKU code, right? This is basically the descriptors, the product details. You also have the date and time. And finally, you also have information about the price and the quantity of the products being sold. Okay, so this is a simplified version. Now, what do we do with this? Okay, so if you have the demographic information plus the product kind of information along with the pricing, there are some things that you can do which you can help with your marketing efforts. So let me take you through that. Now, what is it that we do? You can take this information and run it through a classification algorithm, right, which actually tells you what to, so you can take your transaction data, you can merge it with your marketing input. So that kind of gives you a little bit of a machine learning on your previous, so that, let's say if you ran some campaigns, amount spent, what was the sales that you got, you can merge both this, most of this information, and using a classification algorithm, you can actually combine this data and create about 28 to 35 different attributes. I won't go to the details of how this is done, but just imagine your transaction data along with your marketing data becomes these attributes. Now, you can take all of these attributes and then put them through a segmentation algorithm. Now, the technique that I would like to share with you is something called as NMF, which is non-negative matrix factorization. It's a very, very advanced machine learning technique, which actually takes your information, it takes multi-dimensional information, all the dimensions that you provide to the algorithm, it takes it and it creates these user segments. Okay. Now, once you get these user segments, the next thing is to actually understand, let's see what happens in terms of these 2 brands. Now, I previously said, right, so brand A versus brand B and how brand B is doing better. Now let's move forward. So let me introduce you to the 2 brands. So let's look at brand A first. Now, brand A is enough intentionally try to keep the brands very similar in terms of the size, etc. Right? So we've got brand A, and this is the SKU definition that they've given us, and this is real stuff. Okay, I mean, without naming the brand, this is how we would get. Some of the brands have this kind of a description. So SKU1 is just called pants long, dress code, set avocado, right? And brand B, on the other hand, has a slightly more wider SKU definition or a wider taxonomy, as you can see over here. Two brands are very similar. They've got quite a lot of SKUs. They have a huge number of transactions, and they've got a lot of unique users as well, which we can use to retarget. Okay, so now what do we do? The first step, right? So let's look at what you would typically do with transaction data and how it can help in your marketing efforts. Okay, so now let's see the first step. The first step, like I mentioned before, you extract the taxonomy information from the product SKUs, right? Then you create a product segmentation, and you also, because you have their user IDs as well as their email IDs and their phone numbers, you can create a custom audience. So the segments that you create, you can create a custom audience, right? And those audiences are ones which you can load onto Facebook and then retarget them. Now, we don't stop. You shouldn't stop just at that, just creating a segment and then going forward with the custom audience, right? You should also, we will try to create a kind of a theme or emotional hooks which can be used to target these products, right? And then you can create content based on the theme. So now let's look at how both these brands have done this, okay? So I'm going to go forward. Let's look at brand A, the first step. Remember, the first step is to extract the information from the SKU definition. So we would use a classification algorithm, and using this, you can see that we can get out 3 classifications or taxonomy here. So based on the SKU definition, which has been given to us, so we've got a main product, we've got color, we've got length. So that's how, and you can see in some of the SKUs, we don't have all the information as well. Now let's look at brand B on the other side, right? Brand B on the other side has got 5 more, let's say 5 different categories or 5 dimensions on which you can actually extract the information about these SKUs. And this is how that looks like. Okay, so we can understand how the main product is, the material which was used, sleeve and the length, pattern, etc. Okay, so that's how these 2 brands are a bit different. Now let's see what we will do next. So we've taken this information. Remember, the next step is to do a segmentation. And we have done a segmentation on both this information. Remember, there were about 375,000 audience, and this side also was about 350,000 audience. Now here in brand A, our algorithm is using an NMF technique. Please, this is non-homogeneous. It is it can have overlaps. Okay, I won't go into the technicalities of why we're doing that, etc. But here, if we get 4 segments, these are the 4 segments brand A has got, and these are the sizes. Let's look at brand B on the other hand. It's got a much more granular kind of a segment. Just because you've given the algorithm more dimensions, the algorithm or the segmentation algorithm is able to detect much better audience segments in the case of brand B, where you have 12 segments. Now, what is the meaning of that? Why does this matter a lot? Okay, especially in marketing, is because of the next step. Because if you look at both these brand A and brand B, you will see that in the case of brand A, you have a higher audience overlap because, of course, people use multiple products, right? And in the case of brand B, you have far lesser of an audience overlap because, and this is important because when you run ads, especially on Facebook or any of the other social media platforms, if you run 2 ads, let's say you ran 2 ads over here and you have a high audience overlap, your ads tend to compete against each other, and therefore your effectiveness of your ads reduce. Okay, so now of course the digital platforms, they would love it that you compete against yourself and spend more money. But if you want to make better sales, you need to find these unique or non-overlapping kind of audience sets. Okay, now let's move forward. Now, as you move forward over here, let's look at what we can do with this information. Now, so remember, brand A had 4 audience segments. Now, I'm going to introduce another little bit of a technical concept. This is called cosine similarity. Now, what that means is on a multidimensional space, what products bunch up together. I think one of the speakers was talking about heat maps and all that, but we use a technique called as cosine similarity, which actually tells you which products bunch together, right? Now, look at what, so this is done by the machine. A machine does the classification, the segmentation, plus also the combination or combining products together. Now, if you analyze what products are inside each of these brands, we start to see, okay, and these typically tend to be the biggest products, or like Alessio was saying, just focus on the big ones. Don't focus on these, like it's always an 80-20 rule. Focus on the 80%. That will get you much better ideas. You can't advertise everything, right? The machine also tells you which are the products. Now, and that's where we introduce a human, okay? Now, brand A on this side, if we can look at these products which are coming together, now you all will agree that if you just do a product-based sale, that means you are touching on the functional attributes, like, if the person wants a product, or I want a pattern or a blouse, but that's not the reason. People buy because of emotion. People buy because of emotional hot buttons that you might have pressed, okay? So if your ads or your content, if you look at your product and if you can create an emotional hook, right, as is done in this case, we have bunched these products and we've called it casual vibes on, okay? Now, the next kind of, let's say, and that's been done by a human as now also. I mean, we still don't have a machine to do this level of extraction. The machine does these two things, and then the human with the machine's input is able to create this, okay? And then there's another one which is singular. Tops are, let's say they're one, and then we're seeing that tops are beige, white, and black. And we said, okay, why don't we call this monochrome magic? Okay. Now let's look at brand B on the other hand. Now remember, we had 12 segments. So obviously you would see much more better kind of content, kind of recommendations. Now, the same logic, we have used cosine similarity to actually understand which categories merge together or come together. And you can see what products come together. And over there, we can see, okay, we can create a content. And let's say, because in Indonesia, at least it's right now under a kind of a lockdown. So we have taken the current scenario and said, okay, here's content that you can perhaps create, which talks about work from home, denims that make me feel motivated. Okay, so you're trying to create these hooks, but you also know what products, and you also know who are the people most likely to buy these products, and therefore you can find their lookalikes or their digital clones. Now let's look at some other examples. The same thing, silk but monochrome magic. Now there was tops with monochrome magic, but here is an option of getting silks with monochrome magic. Here are a lot of products which have bunched together, which we call Be Yourself, Be Fabulous. Okay, and the last one was a lot of modest fashion came up together, and we've said that modest yet stylish. Now, a creative director or a creative person can look at this and also look at the product, and they would be able to merge both the emotional aspects with the functional aspects, and you can take the third aspect, which is the audience. So if you've got all these three things, it's like a trifecta. It is the best combination that you can actually give to a digital marketing platform, and that will help you really, really get and accelerate your sales as you go forward. Sorry, I'm also looking at the time, right? Okay, now let's look at what did the creative director. Now, again, these are all fake examples. Remember casual vibes on? So the creative director has taken the inputs that have been given and has created this kind of an ad which they want to load on Facebook. Okay, so you've said casual vibes on. Okay, I'm going to create this ad. At the same time, remember the first one which we had given, we said talked about the work from home denims. The creative director has taken multiple products, bunched them together, and created a kind of a theme, which is like, hey, you know what? You've got these denim products. Here is how you can use these denim products in a work from home kind of an environment. And this was an ad created by the brand B. Okay, now, once you load, or let's say you loaded these ads onto the Facebook platform, right? Let's look at how the performance happened. Okay, so now let's look at the first attribute. So both of these ads launched. Okay, so you launch the ad, and when you launch the ad, you also load the custom audiences. Okay, so on brand A, they might have had bigger audiences, right? Big, let's say 150,000 or something like that. Brand B had, let's say, about 70,000 kind of an audience, which was loaded, right? Wider audience versus a slightly more narrower audience. Now, we're also going to take advantage of digital platforms where you can find the lookalikes of these people, which means the digital clones. So now let's look at the performance. Now, when brand A ran the ad, they got a click-through rate of 0.8%. And many of you guys who are running these ads on Facebook will start to understand, yeah, that looks like my number, 0.8%. But whereas brand B, the click-through rate, or when a person clicks the ad, okay, it is 1.3%, significantly higher. The other thing is the cost per result, or the cost per acquisition. How many dollars did you spend to actually get your sale? And in this case, in brand A, it was $2.50 to get one customer, whereas the cost per result for in the case of brand B was just $1.7, very significantly lower. Now, and as a result, what happens is your return on ad spend, or the money that you spend, let's say $30,000 or $40,000 on ads, how much money did you get? Did you get a 4x return in the case of brand A? Or did you get a 12x return in case of brand B? Now, in Facebook, the gold standard is to hit at least 3x or 2.5x in some countries. That itself is supposed to be their global average. Now, if you've done some emotional based targeting, you can still get 4.7x. But if you have done a wider taxonomy, a better segmentation, a better targeting, you will see that your performance in terms of your return on ad spend is significantly higher. And as a result, if brand A made X number of dollars, brand B tends to make 3x the amount that brand A makes. Okay, and that is the reality of things. Now, let's look at we have analyzed data from more than 81 brands in Indonesia as well as in India, right? And here's what we found. Now, more than 60% of the brands, as you can see here, give just 2 or at max 3 definitions for their brands. Now, many of you all might be in more advanced kind of naming and taxonomy kind of definitions, but this is the reality in many of the brands. More than 60% of the brands have just 3 definitions being given, and this is really low. Right? There are only the 5+ taxonomy was just 14%. And if you were to follow the Omnilytics kind of taxonomy definitions, which are about 15 to 20 kind of definitions, that would be at present very few brands are doing that. But hopefully, I mean, you can see that right now the use of taxonomy is very less. So I would see it as an opportunity. Here's a huge opportunity for brands to improve their naming mechanisms, which will help them with their internal merchandising, etc., and pricing. But not just that, you can actually use these techniques for also reaching out and getting your new customers using your existing customers. Okay, so finally, what is the impact, right? The impact is that if you were to create, or if you want to improve your marketing strategies, be it both paid ads or organic ads, organic content that you create, if you improve your taxonomy, or if you improve it will definitely improve your segmentation, and it would reduce your overlaps. You would get far bigger or more accurate or narrower custom audiences, because in the case of digital marketing, while everybody tells you that, oh, bigger the audience, the more people we can get, it's actually the reverse. The sharper your audience, the better your results, right? And which is why you will see that there is a significantly better return on your ad spend if you actually give sharp audiences, and sharp audiences will come if you have sharp definitions, right? And that can also lead to better content ideas, because your creative team or your digital marketing team, you yourself, if you guys are the ones taking those decisions, you can give the creative teams, hey, you know what, we've found this bunch of products bunching together, and here is a theme that we want you to run. So when they create those content, that will have far better an emotional hook, an emotional kind of connection with your target customers, and that will lead to much better kind of marketing outputs. And finally, the other advantage that you can do is that if you had different segments, rather than you guys just sending out one generic newsletter or one generic email to your entire audience and spamming their email boxes, and you guys all know that email click rates are less than 1%. If you knew that a particular audience liked a particular kind of an item, and again using the same themes, you could also have customized newsletters, and that would also improve your loyalty, will improve your your marketing efforts, and it will greatly improve your brand's ability to compete and gain market share from your competitors.